Do 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 do. Setting up my file now, you guys. Hello. Hello, hello. Man, trying to manage like my screen and also all of the stuff at the same time is different. Hi, Scott. Okay, that is an old sketch. Let's just start fresh, shall we? Ba-doop. I like sketching with like this weird, I don't even know if you'd be able to see it, but this weird watercolor paper texture in the back. It feels less like I'm trying to start from scratch. It's a weird artist thing. I don't know how to explain that. Hi, Lynn! Oh, my favorite people! This is lovely. So my plan, you guys, is to start off with some warm-up figure studies, and then maybe get into thumbing some ideas for thumbnailing. I mean, some ideas for the Rocky Mountain Roll poster this year. But first things first, we're gonna warm up and do some sketchy sketches. Cool. I'm using a website called referencesketchdaily.net. It pulls figures from like all over the internet as reference to warm up. Whitney's here. Hello. It's lovely to see you. Okay. Let's find a good one to start. Okay. Actually doing the thing. Amanda, my goodness. If I was super fancy, I would have like some weird background music that was royalty free. Do I have that? No, I don't. Weiser's here. Weiser, that's how I say your name in my head. I'm not sure that's actually how you intended that to sound, but that's how it goes. Do the thing! Yes, we're doing the thing. Blazer. Got it. Maybe I've got it. I'll work on it. Blazer. If any of you like watch Artubers, as I call them, Arttubers, where it's like literally just the whole channel is about people drawing stuff, they're so much better at talking about what they're doing while they're doing it, and that is a skill that I'm trying to work on. Gosh, I miss drawing. I haven't picked up a pen since college. Oh no! What? No! Maybe we should do like a little Zoom hangout doodle session. I started that with like a bunch of my art school friends at the beginning of lockdown to like pressure myself into drawing. So if I felt like if everybody else was drawing, then I would be drawing too. We used to do that in art school a lot. We would have like hangout homework time so that all of us were working on homework at the same time, which of course art school meant like a bunch of illustrations and that kind of stuff. So if we were all working on art at the same time, then it would pressure us like to keep on task and not be doing other things like watching YouTube. Hi, David. Well, that was. This is why we warm up, kids, because that was not a good first sketch. But this is why we do this. This is why we warm up. Let's move on to the next one. I love ballpoint. I'm full of commitment. It's true. There's no going back when you draw in pen. This weird line thing that I do at the beginning is called a gesture. If you didn't know, it's where you're trying to capture like the essentially kind of the skeleton or the base idea of what the shape is before you start going in and adding details and that kind of stuff. So you can see like one of the first lines that I made was her spine, which dictates like how a person's like base figure is gonna sit. And then I drew her shoulders and then like where her hips angle is gonna be, and then her arms because she's wearing a dress. So couldn't really get her legs in there, but you get the idea. You get it. Let's do that again. Shoulder up, other shoulder down. Kind of where her rib cage would be. We're looking at her back, so that always makes it more complicated. Kind of not. Things that you think would be simple really aren't. It's holding her elbow out to this pretty dress. And her neck. And some fancy hair. That's shorthand for fancy hair, you guys. I hope that you enjoy that. Big old dress. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just set that aside. I have the capabilities to draw on my iPad and Apple Pen Gen 2. Oh, awesome! Have you played around Procreate? I hear lots of good things. I tried to draw on my friend's iPad and like the weird slick texture feels just like super. It's hard to get used to. I can draw on my Samsung Tab 6, but I have not gotten used to that at all. I can like kind of doodle, but it's definitely not like, doesn't match trying to draw, like drawing on a Cintiq, which is what I'm drawing on now. I have a Wacom. I keep learning that I'm saying these things wrong. A Wacom instead of Wacom. Cintiq 16. Evidently they do make like paper like covers for the iPad, so the texture feels more like you're drawing on paper. But have I done it yet? Nope. Scott, this has to be easier than the time you were doing an illustration while you were in the middle of an interview. Yes, that was so hard, you guys. I'll let you in on a secret. He wanted me to come up with the whole thing, idea, start to finish, during the live stream, and I straight up was like, nope, that's not happening. And so I prepped the idea ahead of time. I did a bunch of study sketches first, so I knew exactly what I was going to be drawing on the live. He was just really obsessed with the idea of me drawing on live, even though I don't think that it came off to his audience as well as he thought that it was going to, but it was really hard. Thankfully, like, I kind of already knew what I was drawing, so I had the reference pulled up on my another monitor so I could look at it while I was drawing, so if ever one of his questions caught me off guard, I could like look at my reference and figure out where I was again and not really lose my train of like thought in my head, like what I wanted to do next. I think that's the hardest part, like trying to come up with an idea start to finish with the pressure of everybody watching is really difficult. That's why I never really decided to pursue a career in being like an art teacher, because like there's a certain element of being an art teacher where you need to be able to draw while everybody is watching and also explain what you're doing, and that's like a very specific skill. I think that I'm kind of getting better at it, but I'm still not as articulate as like I would need to be if I was going to be a teacher. I have a very old Wacom. I'm never going to be able to do that. Wacom, but can't find the pen. Oh no! I think you can get really cheap Intuos Wacoms now that are like little. I have one. I'll show it to you. They used to be called bamboo tablets, but now they're called Intuos. I also have like my original pen tablet was just like a really big version of this. That was also called an Intuos, but now they call these little ones Intuoses. But it's like very little. It's like it's about the size of my head. And I think this was under $100. And I bought this when I started working at Latest at the Harley Davidson dealership because lugging my Cintiq back and forth from home to work just wasn't working. So I just used this at work and had my Cintiq for home. Super cheap. I think you can also probably find used ones. That would be pretty cheap. I went to college to be an art teacher. I shadowed and immediately went, nope. Yes. When I was in high school, we had like an art teacher student who came to my art class. Of course, I was a nerd. I took art like literally every year of high school. And when they told me I couldn't take advanced art again when I was a senior, I was one of those few people who were able to apply and get approved to do an independent study for illustration. So that I could like spend a bunch of time with my art teacher and also just like sit in the library and draw whatever I wanted without having to be censored. Because that's like another thing. Like in high school, you can't draw like naked people. You can't like there's a lot of symbolism that it isn't allowed. And like going to like proper art school, college was like a totally different thing. Like sexualized bodies and nudity was highly encouraged. The more controversial, the better. It's like night and day. Anyway, during my independent study in high school, I ended up making this like portrait of a woman topless on a bed for a breast cancer charity gallery that was happening in Florida, and it was the first like gallery show that I'd ever participated in. It was my first experience having to frame and pay for shipping for my work to go to a gallery and all of that stuff, and then also consequently dealing with the aftermath, like if your work doesn't sell during the event, which of course mine didn't. I was a high schooler. It was like colored pencils, you guys. And having to pay to have it shipped all the way back to Montana from Florida. And this was like a big, like 18 by 24 colored pencil piece with a glass frame. Oh my gosh. My parents still have it. It dropped off the wall at one point, so all the glass was shattered, but it's still mounted. In college, ended up doing double majoring because I was taking credits away from a major. I never thought of that. My first figure drawing class, I was like, whoa, yes, yeah. I was so thrilled, though, because I had been just drawing people from, like, the figure referencing section of DeviantArt for years. So being able to, like, see a person in real life in front of me is, like, totally different when you're trying to study the figure. Being able to see it in 3D space is a lot different than looking at a 2D object and trying to communicate that to paper. I guess you could argue that it's easier because it's already a 2D object, but like your eyes see in so much higher definition than like whatever camera that they used to take that photograph and whatever lighting it was in specifically. It affects like the detail and the things that you can see, which affects your decisions to include things or leave things out. I'm just rambling, you guys. I was on a video call earlier and the other person talked a lot, and I have like all this pent up energy to talk a lot. I hope that makes sense. 2 credits away. Gotta go, kids. Bye, Wit. Thanks for being here. So this is still warm up? Yes, we are still warming up. I barely got 4 done. Oh, geez. I need to go faster. I'm supposed to go faster than this. The point of warm up is just like to get used to like kind of putting down with my icing and not really into making something that really looks like what it's supposed to. I am just bad. I can hear my college teachers yelling at me. You don't need to put the whole, you don't need to do this. All the things. Body. Head. Mm-hmm. Do. David. I can barely draw stick figures, but my wife was an artist, so. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, there's a few people who bug me about the fact that my partner doesn't writhe, but having a partner that understands what I'm talking about, like when I'm trying to mentally work through a piece or like working through what a client has asked me to do for a commission or something like that, being able to work that out verbally with like my partner and know that they know exactly what I'm talking about means more to me than like him writing. I've been with partners before who were not artists, who didn't draw or photograph or do anything like that, and it's harder for me to communicate my thoughts and ideas to them in the way that you want to be able to communicate those things to your partner and have them understand you. Jonathan doesn't always understand like when I talk about motorcycle stuff, but that matters less to me because like the motorcycle community is so prevalent and very social. The art community I would not describe as social. I do like, I'm still friends with a bunch of the people that I went to art school with, but like there aren't a whole lot of like social events around art that like aren't like just like gallery openings and that kind of stuff, and the vibes are totally different than a motorcycling event, which I guess is kind of obvious, but yep. This makes me wonder what you could do with a pinstriping brush and a huge blank motorcycle. Pinstriping is so hard. I thought for a little while that I was gonna like pick up painting motorcycle helmets as like a side thing, because like a lot of people do ask me to like if I paint motorcycle helmets and that kind of stuff, and I had painted a few for like charity auctions. But the thing is like to make like a good like professionally painted helmet that's gonna last and not like wear out and that kind of stuff, you need to use lettering enamel. And I think, yeah, somebody bought one of the first ones I did with the lettering enamel, but all I can do is like line work really, and it takes forever. And it's really hard to do that kind of stuff in my style with lettering enamel. I think like that's why people who make helmets, like their work is very clean and like graphic, and mine is not. So it's makes it pretty difficult. So I gave up doing that, and like the couple of helmets that I've done for charity auctions, that kind of stuff, I've done in acrylic paint and kind of put a small clear coat over them. But the thing is, like, that clear coat isn't like the kind of clear coat that you would put on a gas tank. It's just like a modeling clear coat. So over time, that like clear coat will erode away, and that's not something that you want to happen if somebody paid a lot of money for that helmet. Stuff like that. Working with lettering enamel, which is essentially what pinstripers use, is very complicated. You have to always mix in a reducer. It stinks. It stinks a lot. So you have to work in a really well ventilated space. All that to say, I've thought about it. There's a lot more involved, and right now my like little niche of motorcycling event posters works out really well for me, because like I have worked my way into a style that a lot of people appreciate. That's easy for me to what's the good word for that? Easy for me to execute, because I can do the pencil sketch, or like even just do the sketch digitally and then send it to them, get them approved, and then print it out. I'll ink it on vellum, which is essentially like a transparent paper, scan it back in, then color it digitally. There's no huge mess involved. Pens are super transportable, so even if I have to work on it while I'm home in Montana and come back, that's totally fine. It's a very good portable process. David, I was trained as a draftsman. It's hard to get out of the one-dimensional world. Yes, I feel that. I would really love to be able to work in clay the way that a lot of 3D majors were able to. I do really love like throwing pottery on a wheel and that kind of stuff, but I'm not very good at it. In high school, I made all of my bowls and my mugs when I went to college, because I knew I wouldn't be able to afford all that stuff. But for the life of me, I could not manage to throw plates, which is arguably like the easiest thing to throw. And I won a bunch of like scholarships for art in the Valley, and as like a congratulatory thing, my art teacher threw all of my plates, and I still have them. So all of my plates and about half of my bowls now are all like ceramic, and either made by me or my art teacher, which is so cool, so awesome. I have broken half of the plates that he made for me though, so I only have like 5 left instead of like the 12 or something that he had initially made. Now I know why you made the camera stuff sound so simple. I came here because of your motorcycle stuff. I wish I could do it. Hi! Yep, I have a bachelor's degree in fine arts. I'm obsessive. Whit's still here. How long does that process normally take for posters? Oh, posters specifically. It depends on the project, and it depends on the person I'm working with. I have a really long relationship with P&W Dual Sport and Alicia from the Moto Lady. So we know what the other is kind of thinking and what the expectations are and that kind of stuff. So normally they can just give me a quick prompt, and I will send them like the sketches and stuff as I'm going, but for the most part they just let me do what I think is best, which is a fantastic relationship to have with a client. I've definitely had problem clients before, and they take 3 to 4 times as long. But anyway, the answer to your question is since I've started tracking my hours spent on those kinds of projects, I think the last women's motorcycle show poster that I did for Moto Lady took somewhere around 28 to 30 hours. But I mean, like, over the course of like 2 months or something like that, because the back and forth and that kind of stuff takes time. would be infinitely easier if like people would just like let me do whatever I wanted. But that's super selfish, because like then I could get things done in like 2 to 3 days. But as it goes, like most of the time, since like the back and forth has to happen, and not everybody's going to be on their phone 24/7, and everybody has their own life going on. So most of my projects end up taking like 1 to 2 months to finish, even though I only have like maybe 30 hours invested in the project as a whole. It's, yeah, kind of weird to think about. But that's also part of the reason like I stopped accepting new projects, because I have a hella waiting list, and part of the reason it's taking me so long to get through those waiting lists is because like the back and forth with clients on projects takes a long time. And if I get like some pretty negative feedback from the client and they want me to rehash it, it takes me a few days to try to build momentum back up to want to work on it again. So then I have to like pad in when I like give a customer like an expectation for how long it's going to take me to do a project. I have to pad in like the days it's going to take me to build motivation back up to work on that project again, in the case that they give me some really negative feedback, which is like, it's always a learning curve, trying to learn how to communicate more clearly. And it feels like starting from the ground up when I take on new clients, trying to figure out how best to communicate to them and how they communicate, all of the things. It's a grand old time. Does anybody remember in the Titanic movie where Leonardo DiCaprio draws oh my god, I just forgot her name. It's not Keira Knightley, is it? No, it's not Keira Knightley. It's her name's gone. Anyway, when he draws her, my brother like would pause that scene and try to draw her too, like for hours. And when I was in high school, I tried to do, and it was god awful. I haven't tried that again. I should. I probably would think a little bit differently about the quality of his drawing nowadays. I haven't watched that movie in a while. Lynn, how do you decide what goes in your Etsy shop? Is that a blunt question, dummy? Lynn, that's not a blunt question. That's totally fine. I can't put things in my Etsy shop that belong to other people unless they give me blank permission that I'm allowed to do so. So there are quite a few pieces that I made for clients and other people. They just weren't like really publicized and that kind of stuff. But I'm still allowed to like share that I drew those things. So like some stuff that I share on Etsy, like in the sketchbook phase and that kind of stuff, is actually client projects. So I've had a couple people ask me about like the girl that I used for the thumbnail of this live stream, because like it's a really cool drawing and I really love that drawing. It's one of my favorites, but it belongs to somebody else. Like I drew that for Wolfman Luggage, and so I can't sell that, so it doesn't end up on Redbubble or Etsy. And then there's also just like my own personal bias about like whether I think something is going to sell or not. I did get some comments on YouTube recently of like people going back and watching some of my older videos where I draw a little bit more, and I include some of like the in plein air drawings that I've done, like the one in Bayhorse, Idaho, of that like loose watercolor sketch that I did and that kind of stuff. I did have that in my Etsy shop for a little while, but those in plein air drawings don't sell well, so I might like do a print of like one or two of those, but if they don't sell very well, then I don't reprint them. Does that make sense? So it's pretty subjective. It's based on like whether I even own the rights to that work anymore or not, and also whether or not I think it fits into my niche, like as like a motorcycle creator, but also like on Etsy as a whole or on Redbubble, because what sells well on Redbubble doesn't sell well on Etsy and vice versa because the market is a little bit different. Like inside things that like only like people who watch my YouTube know about, like those kinds of things kind of sell okay on Etsy, but not on Redbubble. Although I have seen a small spike in people like buying my old like As the Magpie Flies text logo on t-shirts on a Redbubble, which is kind of neat and makes me feel like, oh, maybe I should draw something new for that that's a little bit updated and maybe reflects my style a little bit better nowadays. I don't know. Yeah, it's all subjective. If there's something specifically you wanted to see in the Etsy store and you don't, you can always message me, and then I can tell you flat out if I even own the rights to that or not. But yeah, I don't tend to put a lot of like my weirder stuff. Like I have a bunch of older drawings of like owls where like the claws and everything is actually like full on arms and that kind of stuff. That was just like a weird surreal thing that I was playing around with a lot in college and like the couple years after college, but people aren't super into that, so I don't I don't put my weird surreal animals on Etsy anymore. And I don't put a lot of like my just landscapes with like no people on them or anything like that on Etsy because those also don't tend to sell very well. Draw me like one of your French girls. Kate Winslet. Thank you, Scott. Hi, Mike. It's good to see you. Or see your name in the chat. You know what I mean. A little spear. Haha. Maybe I'll flesh him out a little bit more. Let's just reduce that and go on top of it. It'd help if like my color palette picker was on the right screen. There we go. Here's a question. Did anybody else watch Bob Ross growing up, or did you hop on the most recent Bob Ross bandwagon? My boyfriend and I watched a documentary about like the Bob Ross like kind of legacy and how he was kind of one of the forefront in like ASMR, which is kind of funny to think about. And Bob didn't actually make a whole lot of money on his paintings when he was alive, and all of his paintings belong to the Bob Ross Foundation, which is crazy. He like made something like 3 or 4 paintings for every show that he did, and there's a lot of freaking seasons of Bob Ross painting. It's crazy. He was a staple in high school. Parents have one of my paintings in their cabin. I cringe when I see it. Oh my god, Wit. Now I really hope that you can make it to Rocky Mountain Roll, because I'll take you up to our house. Like the whole living room, all of the walls are covered in pictures and stuff, and like half of it is my high school art. Oh, it's so bad. His backstory was cool. It was really cool, wasn't it? Like, crazy. It's also crazy to think that like somebody else came up with that like initial wet on wet style, and just the way the cookie crumbled, Bob is the one who's known for it. It's kind of weird. He made it look so easy. Yes, right. That's what I'm thinking. Also, I have a thing to share with you guys. I have a bit of a pet peeve of watching there's a little bit of a trend on like YouTube art tubers of like following a Bob Ross tutorial and seeing if you could really make it the way that he did. And they all, like almost all of them, There's, of course, a few exceptions, but almost all of them skip a very important step, which is like the whole part of his style is the wet on wet, and they don't coat their canvas with magic white. Like, how can you expect to have the same results as what he's doing if you do not follow the steps that he's doing? And he says at the beginning of like every episode that he, like, the canvas has been pre-coated in magic white. Yeah. I'm weird. I choose very strange things to be nitpicky about. But I mean, like, if you're gonna say that you're gonna recreate a Bob Ross like painting, you should do it the right way. That's subjective though. There's not really a right or wrong way to do art, but it's just me. I think it's interesting. I follow, oh gosh, her name just escaped me. I follow a gal who was a background painter for Tangled the series and like a couple of other like Disney series. And she did like following a Bob Ross tutorial, but doing it as like a digital painting. That was really interesting. Seeing her try to compensate for the techniques that he was using with a digital medium. That was fascinating. Oh my gosh, it's gonna bother me that I can't remember her name. I can see her face and everything. She has like a French pit bull. French bulldog? French bulldog. They don't. That doesn't make sense. Oh, Magic White. Yes. Right? That's, yeah. It's very frustrating. There's like a viral one where she recreates a Bob Ross painting on, like, out of house paint on her wall. But it's not a recreation because she doesn't even, like, pre-coat the wall with wet paint to get the same effects. I don't know. It's weird. Blake loves watching the Tangled series. It was so cute. Like, out of like the weird like animated series that Disney does sometimes from like successful movies, Tangled was one of my favorites. Admittedly, I only started watching it specifically because I had been watching that lady on YouTube for a while, and she announced when she got taken on to that project as a background painter. Speaking of background paintings, like nerding out a little bit, the backgrounds in Brother Bear, oh, they're so good. They're so good. Like, they're on like a Miyazaki background painted level. Just, they're so beautiful. We went to see Brother Bear in theaters for one of my birthdays growing up, so maybe that's also part of the reason I'm a little bit biased towards that movie. For a long time, the Harry Potter movies came out on my birthday, and we would go to see Harry Potter on my birthday, but then I think it was like 2005 or something, 2004, when like the release schedule got all turned around, so then the Harry Potter movies weren't coming out on my birthday anymore. And we went to go see Brother Bear, which I wasn't stoked about at first, and then we were in theaters and watching it, and of course, like, it also has the benefit of having the Phil Collins soundtrack, and like, I don't see how that man can like do wrong, soundtrack wise, like music wise, because he also was a part of like making the soundtrack for Corpse Bride, which I also love, and Tarzan. So good. Wit, I'm glad that you also agree with me. Okay, I've obsessively looked at this weird warrior dude for long enough. I guess I should actually start working on what I'm supposed to be working on. It's heavy sigh. I'm a little behind where I'm supposed to be. I was supposed to have the new poster for Rocky Mountain Roll done last month, you guys. And now it's February. Time is weird. Anyway, let's just take a moment to appreciate my weird warm-up figures. Yep, okay. Moving on. Thumbnail time. Haven't watched Tarzan in so long, right? I actually don't know when the last time I watched Brother Bear was. Maybe I'll do that this afternoon. February is shorter this year too. Yeah! We're just getting gypped all the way around, you guys. So gypped. Let's see. Oh, we're almost at 40 minutes. Ooh, wow. Time flies when you're rambling. Oh my gosh, and there's 10 people watching me right now? That's crazy. You guys are crazy. Oh, what happened? Oh, that was weird. Anyway, you momentarily got to see Lazarus. What was I doing? Oh, I'm looking up my mood board for Rocky Mountain Roll. That's what I was doing. You watched it last week. Wait, I feel like you have better excuses for watching it, though. I don't exactly have youngins that make me watch all these animated shows. I just realized I can watch Brother Bear and Tarzan whenever I want because Disney Plus, and I definitely need to do that. Yeah. How long am I gonna go? I think my goal was to go for an hour because I still I have a couple more B-roll things that I need to record for this week's video for my end, and then I have video editing that I need to do for another person this week. I need to get the first cut done and get that out to them so they can review it. So maybe probably another 20 minutes or so will go, and then I need to go into the garage, I need to record the rest of the B-roll for this week's video and start getting that edited so that hopefully patrons can get a whole day of watching that before it goes out to the rest of the world. I swear to God, I'm trying my darndest to get ahead of the editing schedule again. It's just been a struggle. Let's see. Oh, I know. Let's look up some Rocky Mountain. Mountains always inspire me. Even without kids, Disney movies are my go-to. Yes. I need to like get in the habit of splitting my attention more between YouTube and like professional content. I feel like I consume so much YouTube and it's an effort for me to like try to consume professional media. Jonathan and I have been watching WandaVision, which has been awesome, which is the reason I have Disney Plus now. I don't have any kids and I bought Disney Plus anyways. Mandalorian. I love to watch the classics I grew up with. Yes, definitely. There's a lot of like weird obscure classics that are on Disney Plus now too that I was having a struggle to find when I wanted to like go down the nostalgia train. I know that this is about motorcycles, but was that the Badlands in South Dakota, the motorcycle? Oh, the motorcycle. Hold on, I will show it again. Ta-ta! This is not South Dakota, actually. This is from the pilgrimage. So, Makoshka State Park in eastern Montana is essentially like a subsection of the Badlands, but it's a Montana State Park instead of a national park or like a national preserve or anything like that. Monument. That's what I meant. National monument. But yeah, to answer your question, it's in Montana. It's a really special place, and I don't know if I mentioned it in the YouTube videos or not, but like the Badlands, like the official Badlands National Park in South Dakota, was beautiful. It was intense. There was absolutely no shade. I think that I preferred Makoshka over the national park, to be honest. You still get that beautiful Badlands scenery, but a little bit less people. More dirt roads, that's for sure, and a lot more shade because there's so many more trees than in South Dakota. There we go. let's see. What am I gonna do? Ooh, I know. Let's put a giant motorcycle in granite or garnet. Is it garnet or granite? Garnet Ghost Town. Yeah, let's do that. Garnet isn't that far from the event. That's not cheating, right? Or cheating isn't the right word. False advertising? Garnet is an hour and a half from the campground. Or from the ranch, which is the main location for Rocky Mountain Roll. So if I include like Garnet on the poster, is that considered false advertising? I don't know. I don't think so. That works. Thank you, Wit. Shall we put a T7 on the poster this year? Let's try it with a T7. Okay, I've got some inspiration images up on my other monitor here. Got a little bike. Okay. So we have a couple options. Bam. Okay, let's do the look down one. So there's a building here. Road comes through here. There's the building that is like the most photographed building in Garnet right here. I feel like that's an icon. We need that. Little trees. Another building here. Building over here. Let's make this smaller so we have room for the big bike behind all of that. There's a path here. There's some trees. There's a house here, one here, and the hill comes in behind it all. A couple years ago, there was the Forest Service and the National Historical Society was having a struggle trying to find people who would essentially live in the ghost town of Garnet during like the winter and that kind of stuff to protect the buildings and keep an eye on everything. And somehow the national news got a hold of it, and now there's a waiting list to be able to live in Garnet during the winter time, which is just hilarious. Because of course then when the news got hold of it, they like totally sensationalized it, like, oh, get paid to live in this ghost town, like, which is completely not very accurate. Like, you at most you kind of get a stipend for food and that kind of stuff. You're not really getting paid. You get just enough money to like feed yourself while you're staying there, and a free place to stay, so that part's cool. Maybe I'll continue the hill over here. We'll have the road comes out this way. There is a big tree here. It's kind of like the people who are retired, who are campground hosts. You're not getting paid a whole lot, or like campground hosts for like national forest. I think state park campground hosts get paid a little bit more, but like national forest campground hosts really only get like the food stipend and a very small living stipend for the year. I stopped at Rexford campground on the pilgrimage and sat and talked to an old man, and like that's what they do for a living. That they're retired and they snowbird, so they take care of the Rexford campground up in Montana in the summertime, and then they go down to Arizona and they take care of another campground down there in the wintertime, and they just go back and forth, and their stipend and their social security is just enough to pay for their living expenses. Thank you. Grew up in South Dakota and live in North Carolina. Maybe someday I will get back there. Yeah, totally. North Carolina was beautiful. At least you got like all of those other famous like motorcycle roads out there, like the Tail of the Dragon and um, the Skyway and all those parkways and stuff. Um, Out west, we were spoiled for like wide open spaces and that kind of stuff. Um, but as far as like a bunch of like really beautiful and tight corner motorcycle roads all in one spot is they're more spread out. Let me say that. And there's a whole lot of straight boringness that you have to go through to get to some of those roads. PNW is beautiful and we have a lot of curvy roads, but we also have a lot of straight roads. That's an awesome gig. Yeah, wouldn't it be cool? Like if yeah, I think it'd be cool. I was playing around like while he was talking to me about it, like I was like, man, yeah, that sounds like the life, man. But I have so much credit card debt, it's not really feasible for me at the moment. What if I put it behind this building? Should there even be a person on it? Could it just be a bike? Ooh, maybe I'll put the bike behind this building and then I'll put the person sitting on the hill. Having some coffee. Throwback to the PNW Dual Sport poster that I did where he was having coffee and his legs were in the lake. And then a ton of people were just like commenting about how ridiculous it was that he was about to drink coffee but his helmet was on. Focusing on the wrong thing, people. I like the idea of them sitting though. That gives off the chill vibes that I want to give off. I try and like emphasize more and more every year like that. Oh, this looks like he's cheering his bike. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. Yes. There's no place to put a tent, but I think you'd get the point. Little ghost towns, very Montana-y. And we'll put the big cloud above their head to put Rimmer in the event information. Which means like it would have to be more like this. Maybe be up in the top. I like that though. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I like just the bike. Thanks, Wit. I think we just make all this just a little bit smaller. We can give them a little bit more breathing room so that they aren't taking up the whole frame. Make this a little bit bigger so that they're just a smidge smaller, still larger than life because I'm on that trend right now. My whole like people who are like Paul Bunyan sized came from being inspired by this artist whose name is Tran Nguyen, N-G-Y-U-N, I think. I have to look it up. Whoa! Tran N-G-U-Y-E-N. Definitely look up her work. It's beautiful. It's like a combination of like watercolor and colored pencils, and it's gorgeous. No motorcycles, but a lot of like larger than life like women, and like she has like a theme around like home and houses and that kind of stuff. So big giant ladies and little houses, and a lot of water. But that's how she kind of like manages like the lower half of the body, so that if you're kind of focused on the person and their expression and their interaction with the landscape around them. It's so beautiful. Yeah. But anyway, her work is what inspired me to start doing these like big giant ladies. Yes, Scott. Tran Nguyen. Here I'll straight up link to her website so you can see her work. Bam. She's had a major influence on my work the last few years. She hasn't been like doing that kind of style of like giant people and smaller landscapes. That stuff is kind of a couple years old for her. She's been doing a lot more like portrait stuff lately, but thank you, Scott. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, her work is just gorgeous. But I liked that idea, and it also when I was in college and I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah. Oh, when I was in college, I had a really hard time drawing landscapes, and I was very focused on the figures and that kind of stuff. And one of my art teachers told me to try to treat the landscape as another character, so you're just as invested in the landscape as you are figures. And that was really hard for me to wrap my head around until I found her work and the way that her characters like physically interact with the landscape. Like, I fell in love with. Yep. Cool. Right, okay. Let's see if I can't flesh this out a little bit more. Oh, we're already at 56 minutes. 4 minutes to go. And then I need to get my butt working on other things. Man, being in charge of your own time, it's hard. Put you up here. Let's grab this. I was up until like 4 a.m. last night trying to record the first part of this week's video, while also trying to do an oil change on my bike and learning the hard way that with my new skid plate, you really need to drop it to effectively do an oil change without fighting with it for an hour. But you know. Hi, Em! Love all your work. I have it all over my house. Oh, that's awesome! It seems like I just started. Well, if you guys like it, maybe we can do this like once a week or something. It will force me to be productive in like the art stuff that I need to be doing. That would be cool. I have been pretty productive, even though I've been very rambly. Look at that, just like an hour with you guys. I already have the thumb for the Rocky Mountain Roll poster, and I was supposed to have done that like a month ago, so this is good. I might have to do the rough sketch on big paper, just so that I can get a better idea of proportions. It's all like 50-50 for me. Sometimes I do like the whole process digitally and then only print out to do the inks traditionally, and sometimes I do the thumb like digitally just so that I can move stuff around as I'm working, but then I have to go traditional to wrap my head around it. It's very weird. I don't have a good way of explaining it. Very subjective to how I'm feeling. the guy goes here, the bike goes there. I need to find a good perspective reference for that bike. Yep. It'll be more motivating for me to start drawing again. Yeah! We can just do a little draw with me. So you can draw with me while we live stream. Maybe we can do that. Sounds like your dance card is kind of full. Dance card. Dance card. Are you having trouble hearing me? Is that what you're saying? Oh, and there's a building over here that I missed. Anyway, right. I gotta go shoot B-roll, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. It was lovely. Well, maybe we'll do this again next week, okay? Cool? Cool. Thank you, guys. I'll see you later. Hang out for the video coming on Friday. Hopefully Wednesday night / Thursday for patrons. Meaning you're a very busy girl. Yes! That I am. Jonathan was like, oh, well, you're gonna quit your job. You must, like, you're gonna have all this extra time to work on this stuff. And I was like, nope. It's gonna be about the same, probably more. Thank you, guys. Bye!